It started like so many terrible things do at a Walmart. Not just any Walmart, but the one on Meridian Street in Bellingham, Washington. It was a Tuesday, I think. The kind of overcast, drizzly Tuesday that makes the whole world feel like a damp basement. I was there with Chloe. Chloe was my coworker at the digital marketing firm downtown, and we'd been sent on a last-minute, soul-crushing errand to buy supplies for some ridiculous team-building event the next day. A synergy scavenger hunt. I remember the phrase made me want to punch a wall, but being paired with Chloe was the one silver lining in a cloud of corporate bullshit. She was distracting in the best way. That day she was wearing these dark, tight jeans that hugged her hips in a way that felt like a personal invitation, and a simple black V-neck top that I found myself watching the way the fabric stretched across her back when she reached for a bag of plastic cups. The subtle shift of her shoulders, her hair was the color of dark honey, and she had it pulled up in a messy bun, a few strands escaping to curl against the nape of her neck. I had a brief, vivid image of what it would feel like to press my lips right there, to feel the fine, soft hairs against my skin. I shook my head, trying to dispel the thought that it was inappropriate. Sure, but we'd been flirting for months in that safe, office-appropriate way, all lingering glances and double-meaning jokes. This felt different, more charged. Our cart was full of the most depressing array of items you can imagine. Industrial-sized bags of tortilla chips, a gallon of generic salsa, a 12-pack of cheap beer, 3 rolls of duct tape, and a bundle of neon orange flags that we looked like we were planning the world's saddest tailgate party. "Lane 12 is open," Chloe said, her voice pulling me from my stare. She nodded toward the self-checkout area. The Bellingham Walmart is a monument to fluorescent lighting and existential dread. The self-checkout section is its inner sanctum, a dozen electronic monoliths standing in a row, each one humming a low, constant note of judgment. We wheeled our cart to lane 12. It was at the very end, tucked a little into a corner, which felt like a small blessing. I started scanning. Beep. The duct tape. $4.97. Beep. The sound was slightly off, a fraction of a second too long, a little more resonant than usual. I didn't think much of it. I placed the tape in the bagging area and grabbed the first bag of chips. Beep. $3.42. And then a second beep. A different pitch. Sharper, almost a chirp. I froze, my hand still on the bag. Chloe was looking at her phone, tapping out a message. She hadn't seemed to notice. "Did you hear that?" I asked. She glanced up. "Hear what?" "The scanner?" "Yeah, it's beeping, Mark. That's what they do." She gave me a small, teasing smile, her glossed lips catching the harsh light. I felt a stupid surge of pleasure at the sound of my name in her mouth. "No, a second one. Right after." She shrugged, a movement that made the neckline of her top shift, revealing a delicate collarbone. "Probably just a double scan. Don't tell me you're already losing it. We haven't even started the synergy hunt." I chuckled, trying to play it off. "Yeah, you're probably right." I scanned the next bag of chips. Beep. $3.42. Beep. There it was again, that second, sharper tone. This time I was watching the screen. The price appeared, and then just below it, in smaller, grayed-out text, another line of numbers flashed for an instant before disappearing. 10 to 17. I blinked. What the hell was that? A date? October 17th? That was next month. Okay, that was weird, I said, my voice lower. Look at the screen when I scan this. I picked up the gallon of salsa. A heavy glass jar. Beep. $5.98. Beep. The screen flashed. $5.98. And then 11-02. See that? I said, pointing. That second beep and that number. It's a date. Chloe leaned in, her shoulder brushing against my arm. A jolt, warm and electric, went through me. I could smell her perfume, something clean and citrusy. She squinted at the screen. I didn't see anything, and I only heard one beep. Are you sure you didn't just scan it twice by accident? You're looking a little tense. Her eyes flicked down to my hands, which were, I realized, clenched tight around the jar of salsa. I forced myself to relax. Maybe. But I knew I hadn't. The scanner had beeped twice. The screen had shown a date. I was sure of it. I decided to test it. I slowly, deliberately, scanned the pack of beer. Beep. $11.99. Beep. 09-28. September 28. Next week. A cold knot began to tighten in my stomach. This wasn't right. This was wrong. Let me try, Chloe said, gently taking the scanner from my hand. Her fingers brushed against mine, and again that distracting spark. She scanned the roll of duct tape. Beep. $4.97. Silence. She looked at the screen, then at me. See? Just one beep. Just the price. You're seeing things, Mark? Her smile was sympathetic now, but there was a flicker of something else in her eyes. Concern, maybe, or doubt. Was I? Had I imagined it? The stress of the job, the late nights, the unspoken tension with Chloe. Maybe my brain was just short-circuiting. I took the scanner back. Let's just get this over with. I scanned the next item, one of the neon orange flags. Beep. $2.49. Beep. 10-17. The same date as the first bag of chips. I scanned another flag. Beep. $2.49. Beep. 10-17. Another. Beep. $2.49. Beep. 10-17. Every single flag was giving me the same second beep, the same date. October 17th. A cold sweat was starting to prickle on the back of my neck. I glanced around. The other lanes were humming along, people scanning their groceries, oblivious that a mother was trying to corral a screaming toddler. An old man was painstakingly scanning a single banana. Nobody else was hearing a second beep. Nobody else was seeing dates flash on their screens. That's when I first saw him. He was standing by the magazine rack about 20 feet away, just watching me. Not browsing, not looking at anything. Just watching. He was a tall, gaunt man, dressed in a dark gray windbreaker and jeans that were a little too short, showing pale ankles above his scuffed sneakers. He had a face that was utterly unremarkable, the kind you'd forget 2 seconds after seeing it, except for his eyes. They were a pale, watery blue, and they were fixed on me with an intensity that felt like a physical weight. I looked away quickly, my heart thumping a little harder. Don't be paranoid, I told myself. He's just waiting for a lane. I focused on finishing. I scanned the last of our items. My movements hurried, jerky, with every beep beep. My skin crawled. The dates were all clustered. Around late September and October. Nothing past mid-November. What did that mean? The date I would lose them? Lose what? The items? My mind. You okay? Chloe asked, her voice soft. You've gone really pale. I'm fine, I lied, my voice rough. Just, this place gives me the creeps. I finished the transaction, swiped the company card, and grabbed the receipts. I didn't look at them. I just wanted to get out. As I was pushing the cart away from the lane, I risked another glance toward the magazine rack. The man was gone. A wave of relief so potent it felt like a drug washed over me. See? I told myself. You're just stressed. He was just some weird guy. The scanner was glitching. It's all explainable. We pushed the cart through the automatic doors and out into the damp, gray parking lot. The air was cool and smelled of wet asphalt and distance. It felt clean. Real. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. So, what was all that about in there? Chloe asked as we loaded the bags into the trunk of my car. She bent over to place a bag carefully in the back, and the line of her jeans tightened, outlining the curve of her backside. I looked away, feeling a flush of guilt mixed with that persistent, low-grade arousal. This wasn't the time. The scanner, I said, slamming the trunk shut. It was, I don't know, beeping twice, showing dates. Dates? She repeated, straightening up and brushing a strand of hair from her face. Yeah, like, expiration dates maybe? But for weird stuff, duct tape, flags. She gave a little laugh, but it was uncertain. That's bizarre. Must be a new software update, some inventory thing. She was trying to rationalize it for me, and I loved her for it, even as I knew her explanation was wrong. Yeah, I said, forcing a smile, probably. We got in the car. I started the engine, the familiar hum, a small comfort. As I pulled out of the parking spot, my eyes instinctively scanned the lot. And that's when I saw him again. He was standing by a beat-up, silver sedan 3 rows over. Just standing there, leaning against the driver's side door, his hands in his pockets, staring right at my car. Right at me. My blood ran cold. What is it? Chloe asked, noticing my frozen posture. Nothing, I said too quickly, pulling out onto the road. Just checking my blind spot. I drove faster than I should have, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the silver sedan following us. But the traffic was thick, a river of anonymous cars, and I saw no sign of him. We got back to the office. The rest of the afternoon was a blur of emails and spreadsheets that I tried to focus, but my mind was back in that Walmart, listening to that double beep, seeing those pale, watery eyes. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped. The fluorescent lights in the office ceiling seemed to hum with the same malevolent frequency as the self-checkout scanner. At one point, I went to the break room for coffee. Chloe was there, leaning against the counter, stirring a packet of sugar into her mug. The simple domesticity of the scene, the way her wrist turned, the concentration on her face, sent another unwanted surge of desire through me. That it was a stark, confusing contrast to the cold fear still sitting in my gut that I wanted to pull her close, to bury my face in her neck and just feel something warm and alive, to erase the memory of that man's vacant stare. "You're still thinking about it, aren't you?" she said softly, not looking up from her coffee. "I can't shake it," I admitted, my voice low. It felt significant. And that guy. What guy? The one by the magazines, that he was watching me. Then I saw him again in the parking lot. She looked up now, her brow furrowed. "Mark, are you sure? Maybe it was just a coincidence. You know how Walmarts are. They attract all sorts." He was staring right at me. Chloe, it wasn't a casual look. She was silent for a moment, studying my face. "Okay," she said finally. "That is creepy, but it's over now. We're here. We're safe." She reached out and gave my arm a brief, reassuring squeeze. Her touch was like a brand. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. The workday ended. I drove home to my small one-bedroom apartment in the lettered streets neighborhood. It was usually my sanctuary, but tonight it felt different. The shadows in the corners seemed deeper. The silence felt heavy, expectant. I tossed the Walmart receipts onto my kitchen counter and poured myself a whiskey, downing it in one go. The burn was a welcome distraction. I picked up the receipts. The long, curling paper trails of our mundane purchases. And then I saw it. At the bottom of the first receipt, after the total, there was a line of text that shouldn't have been there. It wasn't printed in the same crisp, black ink as the rest of the items. It was fainter, gray, as if the printer was running out of toner. Be seeing you. My hand trembled, the paper rattling. It was him. It had to be. How? How could he have done this? It was a self-checkout. There was no cashier. I fumbled for my phone, my heart hammering against my ribs. I needed to call Chloe. I needed to tell someone. I scrolled to her name and hit dial. It rang once, then twice. Then a sound, not a voicemail greeting, not a busy signal. It was a low, rhythmic sound. A soft, wet scratching, like a fingernail being dragged slowly, deliberately, across the microphone of her phone. And then a whisper, so faint I almost missed it, buried in the static. A voice I didn't recognize, dry and rasping like dead leaves. Soon. Star. The line went dead. I stood there in the middle of my kitchen, the phone pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. The silence in my apartment was no longer just silence. It was a presence. It was listening back. I threw the phone onto the couch as if it had burned me. My breath was coming in short, sharp gasps. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't stress. This was something else. Something that had seen me in that Walmart, that had marked me in some way I couldn't understand. I spent the next hour pacing, my mind racing through impossible scenarios. I checked the locks on my doors and windows twice, 3 times. I pulled the blinds shut. Every creak of the old building, every hum from the refrigerator made me jump. I tried to rationalize it. A prank. A coordinated, incredibly elaborate and deeply unsettling prank. But by who? And why me? It didn't make sense. Finally, exhausted and frayed, I collapsed onto my bed. I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling. The image of the man's face burned onto the back of my eyelids. The memory of the double beep echoing in my head. Beep. Beep point 10-17. Star. The next morning, I was a wreck. I'd maybe gotten an hour of fitful sleep. I called in sick to work, something I almost never did. I couldn't face the office, the fluorescent lights, the normalcy. I couldn't face Chloe, not after what I'd heard on the phone. I spent the day in a state of heightened paranoia. I didn't leave my apartment. I ordered food delivery and watched the guy through the peephole as he walked away. half expecting him to turn around with those pale, dead eyes. I became obsessed with the dates that I found a notepad and wrote them all down from memory. Duct tape, 10 to 17 tortilla chips, 1 10 to 17 tortilla chips, 2 10 to 17 salsa, 11-02 beer, 09-28 flags, all 6 10 to 17. October 17th was a recurring theme. What was so special about October 17th? I looked it up on my phone. It was a Tuesday. Nothing significant. Not a holiday. Not a full moon, just a Tuesday. The beer was the earliest, September 28th. Next week. A new chilling thought occurred to me. The scanner beeped twice. Once for the price. Once for the date. You will lose it. Lose it. What if it wasn't the object? What if it was something else? My sanity? My life? I thought about the beer. What did I have to lose that was connected to beer? A party? My job? I was supposed to go to a friend's birthday party on the 28th. Was something going to happen there? And the flags, the duct tape, the chips, all on October 17th. The day of the Synergy scavenger hunt. The event we had just bought the supplies for. A cold dread, deeper than anything I'd felt before, began to seep into my bones. This wasn't random. It was connected to that event. To Chloe. I had to talk to her. I had to know if she was okay. I picked up my phone, my hands shaking. I texted her instead of calling. I couldn't bear to hear that scratching sound again. K, you okay? Weird stuff happening. Need to talk. I waited. 1 minute. 2.5. No response. The silence was agonizing. Finally, my phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. I'm fine. Just busy with the hunt prep. Talk later. Relief flooded through me, so intense it was almost nauseating. She was fine. She was texting. It had to have been a prank, a wrong number, something. I was losing my mind. Yeah, sure. Later, I texted back that I decided I needed to get out of the apartment. The walls were closing in. I would go for a drive, clear my head. Maybe go to a coffee shop, be around other people. I grabbed my keys and wallet and headed for the door.